I'm reporting from Los Angeles. It's October 15th, 2020. I received a vision from God just 2 days ago, and it said, "Final warning, Israel." Now, this is the same time that Israel was having the evacuations. Over 5,000 people evacuated in the West Bank. Okay, this is surely signs of the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 32. The Bible says that Israel had to be recognized basically as a Jewish state in order for the Messiah to come. And now everything is being set up. That happened in 1948, that Israel was recognized as a Jewish state. Right now in Israel, there is calamities on the rise. So the Shiites and the Sunnis fight against one another. Hezbollah and Hamas are teaming up against Israel, shooting bombs on Israel. And the Palestinians have a disagreement with Israel. And let me explain. So the West Bank is the land that's directly to the south of Israel. Okay, it's home to the Palestinians. 2.8 million Palestinian Arabs reside there, 400,000 Jewish residents. And Israel took control of that land in 1967 and allowed Jewish people to move in. But the Palestinians consider the West Bank illegally occupied Palestinian land. So there's the conflict right there. That's one of the conflicts. So that is where the evacuations are taking place. This is surely the Messiah saying enough. And that's what the vision said. Okay, so the Gaza Strip is another piece of land that they fight on. Okay, it's the Palestinian territory which borders Egypt. Israel warplanes have bombed the Gaza Strip for several nights after alleging Palestinians fired a rocket into southern Israel. This has been going on for some time. So Israel bombs Gaza Strip where the Palestinians reside because the Palestinians shoot missiles upon Israel first. Okay, and then we have the Hamas, who is running the Gaza Strip, which is the Palestinian people we just talked about. And these are Sunni Islamics. Okay, they're in that family of Sunni Islam. Okay, the Palestinians, what they want is a separate state. And then we have another terrorist group, a very dangerous terrorist group, is the enemy of America and the enemy of Israel in Israel's borders, Hezbollah. Hezbollah is actually the role model to Hamas. Hamas patterns herself after Hezbollah. So Hezbollah is a Shiite Muslim political party and a radical terror group. Also, just a little word, Hillary Clinton and Obama strengthened Hezbollah's hand, strengthened the hand of the enemy by giving billions of dollars to this terrorist group whom backs Iran and who in turn blew up millions of Syrians with the money that America funded during the Obama administration to Hezbollah. So now this group has uranium bombs to make nothing else than a nuclear bomb. Okay, so Hezbollah is an enemy of America and Israel. They want to expel powers from Lebanon also to destroy Israel and pledge allegiance to Iran's leader. Okay, so they're using inside, terrorist groups in Lebanon as well. And they operate in Lebanon. They control Shiite majority areas, including parts of Beirut. In 2020, Hezbollah affiliated Qasem Soleimani, who was the car bomber who threatened to blow up America. Soleimani vowed to support Hezbollah. He was in with Hezbollah terrorist group. U.S. President Donald Trump sent a U.S. drone strike in Baghdad, killing Iranian car bomber Soleimani before he could kill innocent American civilians and innocent Iranian and Syrian civilians. This Soleimani, of course, a strong supporter of Hezbollah, killed before he could do any more damage. Mr. Trump rightfully publicly announced Hezbollah as a terrorist organization. Now, the Iranian president, Hassan Rouhani, which is an enemy of America, he supports Hezbollah. He supports Hezbollah in Israel, and even knowing that that is the enemy of Israel, and encourages his operation in Lebanon and Syria. So this rich president of Iran, rich by America's funding during the Obama administration, along with wicked terrorist groups funding him, he is responsible for many terrorist actions inside Lebanon and Syria. He's responsible for killing Lebanese soldiers and capturing others. They have killed more Americans than any other terrorist organization, and that's Hezbollah. God always makes a way. In 1972, there was a general exit order issued allowing residents of those territories to move freely between the West Bank, Israel, and Gaza. So so the Palestinians and the Jewish people and even Islamics could move freely, but that didn't last. Okay, so and they could move freely between the West Bank, Israel, Gaza, but then in 1991 these orders were revoked, and this resulted in increased Palestinian political violence. Okay, and then right now the U.S. President Donald Trump put sanctions hindering foreign investment in Iranian terrorist groups Hezbollah and making it more difficult for economic growth in this radical Islam terror agency. So he did the right thing by sanctioning the people funding Hezbollah, which is the Iranian president, Hassan Rouhani. Okay, these terrorists operate in Lebanon. The Hezbollah operates in Lebanon, Syria, Germany, Mexico, Paraguay, Argentina, Brazil, Iran, United Arab Emirate nations, which just signed a peace treaty with Benjamin Netanyahu. So they are in the borders now with Israel. We're looking for a major war called the Ezekiel 38 war to happen anytime. Okay, Hezbollah is affiliated with Shiite, the radical Islam group that fight the other Islam group, Sunnis. Okay, so we have Hezbollah and Hamas together, and we also have the Shiites with them, and they are fighting the Sunnis, and they're throwing bombs on Israel. Their target is Israel as well, and so we've got them targeting. We've got Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Shiites targeting Israel. And then we've also got the Sunnis fighting in their territory against the Shiites. So we've got groups of terrorists fighting. Okay, why do the Sunnis and the Shiites fight? Okay, they have been supporters of Muhammad. Both the Shiites and Sunnis are Islamic, but they fight amongst each other because they disagree on their successor as the Caliph leader, as the radical Islamic leader. So one side believes that Muhammad, who founded Islam in 620, they believe that the Sunnis think it should have been Abu Bakr, Muhammad's friend, to take Muhammad's place as the radical Caliph leader, which is an Islamic regime. So when Muhammad died, who founded Islam in 620, Sunnis think that it should have been Abu Bakr, the friend of Muhammad, take over, but the Shiites think it should have been Muhammad's son-in-law. Okay, so the Shiites think that the bloodline should have stayed in the family line of Muhammad. Okay, just a recommendation, there is only one God, and that's Jesus Christ. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. So, this is a false religion, but, I just pray that they come to that understanding. But anyway, so Iraq is major Shiite. Iran is majorly Shiite. Saudi Arabia is Sunni.